Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Agent Psycho. This is a little bit of a different video than what I usually make, in that this is actually a live commentary. I haven't done live commentaries in God knows how long, but in any case, since Nerofest is going on, since I'm now starting to get into the gear of degen farming the lottery boxes, i.e. go to the Conqueror node and fucking farm my brains out there, I decided to share with you I'm deciding to share with you guys two setups that you can use to farm the Conqueror node, and they're both 3 turns, but you have to understand these are both very whale compositions, so this may not apply to most of you. But if you can form these teams somehow, I strongly recommend considering these, because these are, if you can meet the requirements for these teams, they are reliable 3 turns, and they're what we've came up with. Well, we as in the farm guys over in Farmville. So speaking of Farmville, I would like to thank and credit specifically Zeo from Farmville, because he's the guy who really worked out the math behind these teams. And so yeah, shoutouts to him. And thanks for his the amount of degen maths that he's been able to put into getting these teams up and running. So the first team that you can use is this one right here. The first team. This is the original composition that the people over at the good whales over at Farmville had theorized or theory crafted, and that's the 3-turn Mordred setup, where you have a level 9 arts buff Mordred with a level 10 skill MP charge as in her 3rd skill, and a Saber Nero, I keep calling her Saber Nero, Nero Bride, who they said you needed to have at least level 10 MP charge. I can get away with level 9, and I'll explain why they thought it was level 10, but level 9 still works. I'll explain that in a little bit while we're actually in game. And you need those two. You need a Waver and you need a Tam. They don't usually, they have the other guys have it in this order. It doesn't really matter. As long as you have Waver and Tomo there at some point. Your backline doesn't matter. Only these first 4 do. So let's get into how this team works. So if you're going to use this, you need to take either a support Tomo, or actually your support doesn't really matter, but for max Petal drops, try to take a Waver, Tomo, or a Nero Bride, because you're gonna need a Surfer Mordred with the Limit Broken White Rose Sea, or whatever it's called. So if you take a support Surfer Mordred with the White Rose Sea, obviously you're losing out on Petals, unless you already have a full lineup of Petals, then in which case it doesn't matter. But in any case, let's get in here and see how it works out. So there's a lot of mechanics that are taken into account with this team. Like, this team really forces you to realize that there are a lot of mechanics that this game doesn't tell you about. Really minute details. So here's how it works. So obviously you use Waver skills, as you always do, because it gives Mordred 50% MP charge. So I kind of like that. And you need to have Surfer Mordred's 3rd skill at level 10, because it gives a 30% MP charge. If you don't have it, then this team will not work, because you're not going to be able to get the last 2% or whatever from wherever else. So you need to have a level 10 Surfer Mordred 3rd skill. And you use the arts buff. Obviously, the arts buff needs to be very high level. Like, I would say mine's at level 9, obviously. I think you can get away with level 8, but the bare minimum, recommended minimum is level 9. So you have to have a level 9 arts buff, or otherwise it may not work, and a level 10 3rd skill. And then a level 9, at least a level 9 MP generation. And then we swap out Waver for Tomo here. She comes in, and Tomo again needs to have a level 10 arts buff, maybe a level 9, but again, bare required minimum is level 10 arts buff. And I apply Nero Bride's attack buff here, because my Mordred will need it for the 3rd turn, so might as well pop it here while I'm messing with all the skills. Alright, so now that she has all those buffs, now here's where it gets a little bit tricky. So since my I almost said Saber Nero again. Since my Nero Bride only has a level 9 MP generation buff, even if she does have level 10, you still need to do this. So the way Mordred gets 100% MP charge next turn off of killing these berserkers is to first attack this middle white chimera and get his HP down to sub 16k. Like if you're below 14k, you're basically good to go. Because what happens is that Surfer Mordred needs to do enough damage to get the overkill MP generation bonus on the middle white chimera. Because she's gonna get overkill bonus because, okay, first, Surfer Mordred's MP hits 3 times per target. That's what gives her so much MP charge back. Because as you know, as you may or may not know in this game, MP generation and crit star generation are dependent on how many hits a card type has in this game. So the fact that Surfer Mordred's MP has 3 hits per target means that she's generating a ton of MP per target, and that's why she's able to get her MP back, MP the next wave. So, but the reason, if you only use Mordred's MP like right at the bat, like I put MP, her Mordred first, she's not gonna get the full MP charge because she doesn't get the overkill bonus immediately off this middle chimera. And part of the reason why is because I believe in this game, when you attack berserkers, enemy berserkers with your servants, you don't get the normal MP generation rate. I think it's actually like only 80% of what you're supposed to get. Like in this game, if you attack certain enemy types, like say for example you attack a saber, you get the normal MP generation rate. However, if you attack berserkers, I believe you only get 80% back. And specifically against casters, you get 20% bonus, whereas attacking against berserkers, you get 20% penalty for some reason. So because of that, you need to attack this first chimera. Taking everything into account, you basically need to get this white middle chimera down to below like at least 16k health. So let's we're gonna put Saber Mordred, Nero Bride's Buster card first, and then the third skill doesn't really matter. As you just need to get the middle chimera below 14k so that Mordred can get her overkill bonus immediately off her second hit. So as you can see, we get the overkill bonus immediately, and voila, we get 100% MP charge. She doesn't actually get 100% MP charge. I believe Zio calculated to be like, if you have a level 10 Nero Bride's first skill, the MP generation buff, the math works out to around 99.44%. And in this game, if the game sees that one of your servants has generated a total of over 99% MP charge, even if it's 0.00001 or even smaller MP charge over, it automatically rounds it up to the next percent because the game thinks, oh, you're close enough, here's your MP charge, like here's your NP because you got close enough. If it's exactly 99%, the game says fuck you, most of the time. But in this case, we're lucky enough that Mordred barely generates enough MP to get her over 99% that the game says, you're close enough, you get 100% MP charge, and we get to MP charge, or we get to MP again. So here it doesn't really matter, as the first wave for this type of composition is the trickiest. If you can get over the first wave, you're basically smooth sailing from here. No pun intended. I didn't intend that. Sorry. So yeah, as you can see, easy. We get easily over 100% MP charge. Again, because we're attacking caster guilds, and like I mentioned before, casters in this game, when you attack them they give you, or whichever servant is attacking enemy casters, they get 20% bonus MP charge if they're generating MP off whatever face card that they're using. Be it quicks or arts cards. Obviously not busters, because busters don't normally generate MP, though they can if you lead off with an arts card. But yeah, since Caster Guilds is there, you basically don't need to worry about whether or not she's going to generate more MP the next turn, because he guarantees that she's going to get her next MP. And then here, she should be able to just one-shot these guys too. Depending on your RNG with damage, she may not be able to one-shot Dante's. Most of the time she should be able to, but keep in mind that my Surf Druid is not FO'd, like she's not FO'd at all. So there is a chance that she won't one-shot Dante's. Here she did, and most of the time she does, but sometimes she doesn't. Just keep that in mind. If you have a hyper buff Rider Mordred who's foed, maybe even Grail, then you don't have to worry about this because she will most likely one-shot Dante's. And if she doesn't, face cards will finish John really easily. So that's how that's how this team works. Again, the first wave is the trickiest because you need to guarantee that I keep saying Saber. Rider Mordred gets her MP off that first wave of Berserkers for the next turn, and once you're able to do that, then you're basically guaranteed a 3 or at least a 4 turn on that node. That's how that works. That's how that works. All right. So the next team composition kind of depends on whether or not I can get. Yes, I've got. I'll use Lynn's because his is less MP. His is a slightly less MP level, just to show that even at MP2, Saber Mordred still works. I can actually say Saber Mordred now. So this is how the next team works. So you want to have a team of Fran with or any really strong Berserker. Raiko is not necessarily recommended here unless she's a very high MP level and a very high mana burst level, and mind you, not or, and. Because she has to go up against attribute penalty, because you have to use your AoE Berserker for the second wave, and Raiko is not as good there because even though she's a 5-star, because she has to deal with an attribute penalty, because in this game not only are there class advantages, but there are also what's called attribute advantages, where if you're going up against servants or even certain enemy certain mob enemy types, they have what's called an attribute, or I guess a trait. I think it's attribute, where there's like man, there's sky or earth, and then there's sky. I believe like there's 3 attributes, and then kind of like the saber, lancer, and archer advantage triangle. You've got the man, the sky, and the earth attribute advantage circle as well. I forget exactly how it works, but what I do know is that Raiko is not recommended here unless she's very buffed out, because she has attribute penalty. So like she does 10% less damage against the enemies in the second wave, and if you get bad RNG and you get the 10% penalty on the damage RNG. When she does her MP, if she's not high enough MP level, she might not do it. So Fran is recommended here if you have a hyper buff Fran. So that's your Berserker AoE for wave 2. Saber Mordred has to have the limit broken White Rose CE, and you'll need to use her for the third wave, and you need to bring Nidochris along, like preferably Nidochris, because if you have her at level 8 self-charge, you can give her Joint Recital, and she can basically just self-charge herself and then immediately MP the first wave and, take care of that. So let's actually just go in and try this. So that's the plan. And then for the third wave, you obviously use Plug Suit to bring in Waver so that Mordred can get fill out the rest of her MP charge and then finish off the third wave by herself. So this is how it looks in action. So Nidochris, at least level 8 self-charge, remember, because that gives her 100% MP charge. And then immediately MP. Don't have to worry about it, because as long as you're MP Nidochris, even if she's at MP 1, she should be able to finish these off, because they're all Berserkers. And if she doesn't, then the face cards should finish off. At least the middle. Like, it doesn't matter about the insta-kill as long as Nidochris is at least MP2 or above. So Nidochris handles the first wave by herself. And second wave, again, you have to use Fran. So pop the NP buff, and she'll just basically wipe everybody, because everybody here is like quote-unquote relatively low HP. Like Fran can easily wipe the floor with these guys, girls, I guess. So as you can see, they're all dead because she's a Berserker. Fran basically says fuck you to Jalter and John. You don't need Fran's defense debuff, which is why defense down skill, because Mordred should be able to one-shot this last wave by herself without any other help other than Waver, of course. So you use Waver skills here, give her a charge. And then again, you need to have Saber Mordred with a max level 3rd skill, because she needs all the MP charge, because it'll top her off at exactly 100. Pop the mana burst, and then she should be able to just one-shot this easy. Should. At least she did that last time when I tested it out. Okay, she didn't one-shot it, but this should be good enough. Boom. So if you have a higher, if you can take a higher level MP level Morgid like MP3, MP4, then she should be able to one-shot it very easily. And even at MP2, if you get good damage RNG, she should be able to one-shot the third wave by herself. So that's how these two teams work. These are the two teams that Farmville, the good guys over at Farmville, have been able to come up with. And yeah, just going over the two teams again. Oh, that's my support list. Sorry, wrong tab. So the first team you want to use, or the first team, to suggest is Nerobride, Surfer Morgid with the Limit Broken, White Rose CE, support Waver or Nerobride or Talmo, or even Surfer Morgid if you're willing to give up some petals, and Talmo in the back or Waver in the back or whoever. And then for the second team, you can use a Fran, support Morgid, or support anybody here. It's just I have to use the support Morgid because my Morgid doesn't meet the requirements. Specifically, she doesn't have a level 10 charge, so I have to use a support Morgid for this particular setup. But Fran with Limit Broken K-Scope, say a support Morgid or support whoever, Nitocris, and Waver. So those are your teams. Again, the backline doesn't matter. Only the first 4 sermons matter here. So, alright. So hopefully you guys found this video useful as it can be for anyone who's not a whale. Yeah, at the very least, if you can't use this video for your own farming stuff, hopefully this video was at least somewhat interesting, or maybe you can just tear your eyeballs out over how whale these teams are. But anyways, thank you guys very much for watching, and until next time, then use plug.